Fishing at the lake, or just taking a break. The countdown clocks have started, fight songs pass the time. The days may run together, but you know that in our mind it's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Give me those 12 Saturdays. Spot the ball. March Madness is a blast, and we love baseball games, but nothing beats the feeling of having a killer slate of games. It's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Dreaming of all Saturdays. Spot the ball. Spot the ball. Oh, college football. Sat at your day. For the small, lay a big hit and pass a kick the ball. This game is for us all. From Seattle down toward the Keys, this game is you, this game is me. Cast dogs and steer, be the tree. This game is America, so sing it loud with me. College football forever. College football forever. Downtown LA, Starkville City. 1 week you're up next, take a dip. Run the rock or let it rip. This game is America. All say, can you sing it with me?
We just stepped on her face with a hot-tail Brugen brought her nose. Whoa, Nelly!
College football forever. College football forever. College football forever. College football forever.
College football is a year-round discussion with these two. Here's JC and Morgan. Mike Morgan of ESPN and JC Sherbert of 24/7 Sports have you covered. Beginning right now.
And welcome, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or if you're listening to this, watching this on delayed in the middle of the night because you're an insomniac, we hope we can help relax you and entertain you before you get to sleep. That happens to me sometimes. I just wake up in the middle of the night. I can't sleep. I put on a program, a podcast or something. I'm entertained, and then I actually go to sleep. It puts my mind at ease. That's what we're here to do. Put everybody's mind at ease. We've got a lot of things to be grateful and happy for, including a 3-day weekend that we just enjoyed. And, of course, we've got games to discuss here on JC and Morgan. He is JC Sherbert. I am Mike Morgan. Mad Dog Phil Mullinax. You can't see him, but trust me, he is there in living color, our executive producer of this fine program. We'll get to the JC5. We'll get to the boss makes a return, kind of a mini boss. Some of these superlative efforts by players throughout week one of college football. And we'll just get to the nitty-gritty of what was one of the best, if not the best, week ones of all time. I'll be honest with you, JC. I watched next to none of last night's Bill Belichick debacle. I could not have taken in more football Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Called the Auburn-Baylor game Friday. Watched wall-to-wall games Saturday. Watched games Sunday. And then last night, I knew it was on. I look, I've seen this movie before with North Carolina, including the, Mac Brown 2.0. They don't have the dudes. They just don't. There's not enough there. They had their window. When you've got a top 5 quarterback like Drake May, and you had a Marion Hampton, an incredible NFL type running back. When you can't kind of move the needle with those two type of weapons because you still can't play defense, you're still soft. You're just far away. So the Bill Belichick white knight on a horse coming in and turning things magically around, I wasn't expecting it, and it didn't happen, and they got blown out. I will say this, and I don't want to spend too much time on that game because we've got so many bigger games to discuss, JC, but here's what I learned just following social media this morning when I woke up, because that's what you do. I went to sleep early last night. I was exhausted. And sometimes what you do is you go to the Twitter machine and you say, okay, what did I miss? What's the chatter? What's going on? Or you could go to a website or a message board, all the above. What I realized, and it kind of surprised me, JC, and I guess it shouldn't have, a lot of you really hate Bill Belichick. I mean, hate Bill Belichick. I mean, you're full of just hostility toward Bill Belichick. I'm just not there. I don't know. I mean, I liked those Pats teams. I liked Tom, and I'm not from New England. I liked Tom Brady. I respected Bill Belichick. Yeah, I get it. Spygate. Okay, if you want to, if that's what you want to define his career, you can. But look, he didn't win 6 Super Bowls because of Spygate. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's the GOAT in the NFL. Was he short with people at press conferences? Yeah. Do I want to be his bowling partner? No. But I've never had a hatred or even a dislike for Bill Belichick. But man, people were just enjoying the hell out of it, and a lot of media people too. A lot of people that cover the sport was every tweet was just a barb at Bill's expense. So I get it. I never felt that way about Saban. I think the media still loves Saban, and maybe they appreciate him more than ever now. But man, oh man, they were teeing off on good old Bill Belichick. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm in your boat. I've never disliked the guy. I think the media doesn't like him because when he gets questions that he doesn't deem, I don't want to say appropriate, but I mean, he probably feels like they're dumb questions. He doesn't answer them. And, the Jordan thing with the interview with CBS, I think some people that are, big time Johnny journalists out there that, they always protect any kind of media at all costs, and it's never their fault, that rubbed them the wrong way. But look, man, I mean, I think people were kind of sleeping on TCU. I mean, that's a program that's been really good for a long time. Nobody even talked about them heading in, and Sonny Dykes said that after the game. He said, hey, everybody's talking about this game, and nobody's talking about us. And, like they were cannon fodder. And, they got off to a good start, and then talent took over. And if you look at North Carolina's outbound portal players, especially after spring practice, like Bo Atkinson, really good player, went to Ohio State. There were several players that left. And I said at the time, it's going to either be a case study and evaluation. In other words, that's what he did in New England. Found guys and evaluated them, or it's going to be a disaster. Well, so far, disaster. That was a disaster, I think we can say, in Chapel Hill on Monday night. And I say this about the college game all the time. It's the same sport, different game. It doesn't – the way you do it in the NFL isn't always applicable. Very few. Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll are probably the two recently that have done it the right way. Jimmy Johnson back in the day. Very few can go back and forth and be successful at both levels, just because it's different. It's different, even with the portal and everybody wanting to professionalize it. You're still college kids, and in this game, in this part of it, in the NFL, you're still, even if you're the worst team in the NFL, you're dealing with professional players, really good players. You don't have a roster in college, you're deficient. There's teams that can be a whole lot better than you. Not to mention, it was a very motivated TCU team, and they've been winning games in Fort Worth for a long time. So, I don't hate the guy. I don't want to pile on the guy, but obviously an ominous start to his college coaching tenure. And if it continues like that, then I think we can say, well, this is not a good idea. But it's the first game of the season. Like I said, a lot of new players, a very motivated opponent that nobody talked about. And we saw what we saw.
Yeah, another reminder that they play pretty good football in the Big 12 too. I was thinking about this. I mentioned the Dallas Cowboys documentary on Netflix, which I was entertained by, especially early. It took me back in time to a place where I remember those teams and how they were built and everything else. Then at the end, it became a little bit too much of a back rub for Jerry Jones, who had editorial control of it, much like Michael Jordan did of the Last Dance documentary. But regardless, it was a reminder to everybody how special Jimmy Johnson was. Jimmy Johnson was a dominant college football coach, then goes to the Cowboys and was dominating there. Barry Switzer was a boob and basically won with Jimmy's players. Jimmy basically had 3 Super Bowl championships in Dallas, although he only gets credit for 2. But that is the rare thing, because Paul Brown, I looked this up, Paul Brown coached Ohio State to its first national championship and then became a legendary coach of the Cleveland Browns. Jimmy Johnson did it. You mentioned a couple of guys, Carroll and Harbaugh. That's really the list. I mean, there's just not a lot else. Some would say Tom Coughlin is another guy that had some success doing that. The list of coaches that failed, it's a big one. It's you go back to Lou Holtz in the 70s, who had 1 year with the Jets, and that was enough for everybody to realize Lou's, I don't want to say gimmicks, Lou's ways did not translate to the NFL. Most recently, we've had Urban Meyer that never had a chance to get off the ground in Jacksonville. Spurrier was not awful in Washington, but it clearly his days would be better in college, and boy, did he have a heck of a second chapter at South Carolina. Bobby Petrino, that was miserable. People in Atlanta still hate Bobby Petrino. Nick Saban, again, if you had Drew Brees instead of Dante Culpepper, who knows? Who knows how history might have changed, but that's not the way it worked out. Chip Kelly wasn't that bad. Chip Kelly had a 10-6 season, actually. I think he had 2 winning seasons. Matt Rule with the Panthers, I'm not sure if anybody can be ultra successful with the Panthers. And Greg Schiano, Dennis Erickson. I mean, these are all guys that tried it. It's just very difficult. And, of course, Bill in his advanced age, and a number of people feel like this was nothing more than another Nepo play that he would just hand it over to his son. I don't know if that's going to go over real well with the Fighting Ram Touchdown Club or whoever is making that decision.
Yeah, it was something else. Yeah, I mean, you've even seen coordinators do it. There's more coordinators that can go back and forth nowadays. But Steve Wilkes, I know he got fired by the 49ers. He was considered one of the better D coordinators in the NFL. He coached at Missouri. Remember a couple of years ago, Missouri in 2021, their defense was just awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like bad. Like Missouri usually has a pretty salty defense. Bad, terrible. Tennessee went in there and scored 62 on them like it was nothing. Steve Wilkes, brother. And then he moved on, and they got a whole lot better. They promoted Blake Baker. So who's at LSU now. So it's very interesting to see. A lot of the NFL folks think, they take that NFL way and come to college and it doesn't work, and vice versa. So, very, very few can go back and forth. Like I said, Harbaugh Pete Carroll too, but Pete Carroll hasn't gone back to college. Harbaugh went NFL back to college. Now he's winning again with the Chargers. So he's a rare bird and a rare coach. And that's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that. Well,
Bill Belichick. I want to talk about Alabama.
Yeah, well, let's talk to Mr. Gump about Alabama, about Texas, about Florida State, about Ohio State, about Notre Dame, Miami. I mean, there's a lot to bite off here. So let's get it started. In fact, I need some extra spark provided by Advocare today to get through all the major storylines and games. Advocare.com. Enter promo code Mike Morgan. Save yourself 20%, whether it's Spark, whether it's Rehydrate, whether it's some of the workout powders and stuff that you can mix into water. All nutritious, all delivered to your door, all making a positive difference for you. That's Advocare.com. Let's start with the biggest game, shall we? Ohio State and Texas. Your thoughts?
Well, it did not go the way I was going to do, and I have to apologize to our audience. And if you've listened to me on the shows, I can't. I'm embarrassed. I got the hire for Ohio State's coordinator wrong. Chris Ash went to Notre Dame. He did not go back to Ohio State. I believe I said that on this show. I just started thinking about it. It's Matt Patricia. Speaking of NFL guys, who's their coordinator. And now there's an NFL guy that came to college that's doing a really good job because they had them schemed up. I mentioned Ohio State's personnel losses on defense last year were pretty massive. In general, off the unders hit on a lot of these openers, folks. It was an under type of day if you gamble. And Arch Manning did not play well. Now, just like everybody's taking shots at Bill Belichick, I'm not going to take shots at Arch Manning. It's his first game. It's at Ohio State. They had a good plan for him. He didn't, sometimes he could have been helped a little bit more. There's sometimes he threw bad passes, errant passes. And that's just how it is. He's got to settle back in and be fine. Ohio State got enough offense. I thought that Julian Sayin was solid. Jeremiah Smith was solid. They came through when they needed to and got a big win in an opener that, again, just like the Belichick thing, and this is going to happen. People don't need to get mad about this. There's no scrimmages in college football. There's no exhibition games. When you're going into a season and your media, you talk about it as best you can. But, I am looking forward to seeing this. And so, the Arch Manning hype was right there. He's a Manning, right? Everybody's looking forward to seeing it against a tough opponent and seeing how he does. But that wasn't the story of the game. But that also doesn't mean he's terrible. It was an ominous debut. I'm using that word a lot today for him. But disappointing if you're Texas. Thought the defense played well on the road. But, you got to be better than that if you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. The good news is Texas has some games coming up where they should get right games, and they'll go from there. But I thought for Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, that was another, they won the national title last year. They were supposed to, quite frankly. That was another validating win because there you go. You got all these personnel losses. You got two new coordinators. Texas is number one in the preseason, and you beat them. So hats off to Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, off to a good start. I think they're going to be pretty salty. It's going to be a different type of team probably this year than last year, but it's still a very good football team, and that was a very nice win.
I'm going to invoke the Belichick name on this game. I'll show you how I do this. You could make the argument that Arch Manning got Belichicked by Matt Patricia. He basically, that defense, talk about salty. They hold Texas to like 200 yards, and they were not going to let Arch Manning beat them. And there are ways to devise defenses to do that. I mean, Texas at times had some success in the running game. We could do a whole segment on coaches and fourth down. I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. You can't. You're not playing Madden, all right? You're not at the frat house where your Phi Delta Theta bros are going, it's 4th and 8. You got to go for it, man. I mean, at some point, especially in these lower scoring games, you mentioned the under totals, you got to play field position. And there's just too much like riverboat gambler stuff or that's 4th down and 1, go for it. 4th down and 3, go for it. 4th down in our own territory, go for it. You saw it all over. You saw it all over the place. Not necessarily the right play. Not necessarily the right play, but Arch Manning, he did not look great. I'm not going to sit here and grab a shovel and build a grave for his college career, even this season. I mean, it's ridiculous. You're on the road. It's Ohio State. Ohio State now, to your point, they have built what Georgia has. I don't know if there's many other programs we can say this about. We'll get to Alabama in a moment. Clearly, they have taken a step back. There's Georgia, which you just every year rinse, wash, repeat. Players leave, coaches leave, still dominating program. You still expect a dominating defense every time out. Even last year, it was not a typical Kirby team. What do? They win the SEC. But Georgia and Ohio State, it's like, okay, no matter what the turnover is, they are going to have elite athletes. That program is humming, and they showed it. But Patricia was the difference in so many ways. To be able to get a guy like that, an NFL head coach, to coach your defense in college with 4- and 5-star guys all over the place. Look, Texas's defense was – I'm not cooled off on Texas. You want to ask me right now, is Texas going to make the playoff? I say yes, they are. Anybody want to take that bet? Because I'm still in on Texas. I'm still in on Texas, and I'm not giving up on Arch Manning. But they don't have to have Arch Manning throw for 4,000 yards to be a dominating program this year in the SEC. So it was a game that came down to the wire. Remember, Texas had it on the final drive, chance to tie the game. Let's not overlook Texas's defense and what they did in that game, even with, again, not winning the field position battle because you got your coach diving up 4th down and shorts on the regular. So, look, I'm still high on Texas. I'm still very high on Ohio State, and we'll see how that moves forward. Now, Alabama, Florida State. And I'm mad at myself, JC. I get really mad at myself when I'm on the verge of saying something and I don't do it. I was never on the verge of saying Florida State's going to upset Alabama. But I certainly thought they'd cover and keep it close. And I've been on record that the 2-10, you know how I feel about the Florida swagger programs. You knock them in the mouth early, and all that swagger goes down. And quite frankly, there's some kids that quit last year in Florida State. Assuming they didn't do that this year, they were going to be much better. And they are. Don't be surprised if they pop up in some top 10 polls today because they have one of the biggest wins of week 1. Castellanos, say what you want about him. You combine him with Gus Malzahn, and that's going to be a problem for a lot of ACC defenses this year. But what stands out most in that game is that the more physical team was Florida State. Has that happened? You cover recruiting. I'm going to make a wild guess, JC, and say Alabama has more 5-stars on the line of scrimmage than Florida State does. But you wouldn't know it if you were watching that game.
Yeah, Nick Saban's not walking through that door. I say this all the time. Everybody kind of felt like, they'll just keep right on rolling. The secret sauce in some ways at Alabama were subjective recruiting rankings and collecting 4- and 5-star players. It wasn't. They recruited out of the same pool that programs like Florida State once did, like Southern Cal, like whoever. I mean, and those teams would go 5-7. Well, what's the difference? Well, the difference was he and his staff developed guys, and the standard. He talked a lot about the standard the standard to play to, the standard he coached to, like sweating the little things. I mean, he was a cyborg, right? There's nobody. I mean, people can say, "Well, who's that?" I mean, who's the next Alabama? There's not one. Georgia's close because Georgia's got Kirby Smart and learned a lot, but Georgia's. Kirby Smart's Kirby Smart. Nick Saban's Nick Saban. You throw in the portal and roster attrition, and then the fact that Kalen DeBoer is a completely different personality and different type of coach than Nick Saban was. And there's going to be some issues. What shocked me was the defense did not seem prepared for what me and you and everyone else said all summer was coming. And that was the Gus Malzahn, they're going to run the quarterback. They're going to have timely passes. I mean, Gus Malzahn's coached a long time. There's tape. I mean, I didn't get it. And you're right, the physicality, especially on defense. And then I came back to my hot take of the spring, and I backed off of it a little bit because, you hear Greg McElroy talk about Ty Simpson, and you hear others talk about Ty Simpson. You think, well, maybe he could be like Cade Klubnik, a 5-star guy that got a lot better, came into his own. And then I heard an interview with him the other day, and I lost confidence. And people give bad interviews, and they're great players, don't get me wrong. And then I heard Nick Saban talk about him and talk about the keys to him being good. And something did not align. So I got worried about Alabama probably late week. I was like, this may not be right. And so their offense struggled. Then they weren't physical. And there's no excuse. And so Alabama, this is about the third or fourth time this has happened where they played a team that they were double-digit favorites against and lost. Third. I guess last year they lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. And I guess the Michigan Outback Bowl was, I still call it the Outback Bowl, they were favored in that one and lost. And in all of those games, the other team took the fight to them. And you can't have that happen. You can't just show up and say, we're the almighty Crimson Tide and we're going to beat people. Nick Saban didn't do that. He's sweating the Citadel. Right? It's down at halftime to the Citadel. But, that's not the standard there. But you can't get him back. So, I don't know. They have to make it work. Kalen DeBoer, this is a little unprecedented in his coaching career. Washington and Fresno State, he didn't have the string of losses to teams they should have beaten. He's usually pretty solid. Yeah. Definitely was at Sioux Falls where he's 66-3. So I don't know, I don't know that defense sits under DeBoer. There are games where they look fantastic. Then there are games not so much, and I don't know what it is because there's no like scheme match. In other words, does Kane Womack on defense does his defense struggle with this type of team? There's no. Running quarterbacks could be part of it because Castellanos and Pavia last year, and Jackson Arnold, who I think we all found out could run on Friday night.
Yes.
Ran all over them last year. So maybe it's running quarterbacks. I don't know. But there's something askew there that they have to fix if they're going to be contenders in the SEC and for the playoff.
There's a lot of people that were all in on Alabama. Our guy Josh Pate, he picked them to win the national championship. He wasn't alone. There were a number of people that thought, okay, that's your warm-up year, Kalen DeBoer. This year, now it all happens. They looked bad. They looked really bad. And the other issue that's out there and has not been lost on people are counting. There's a stat that coaches use, the loaves, not like of bread, but guys just absolutely not competing, not running, giving up on a play. And I've heard numbers in the high 20s, low 30s for loafs for an Alabama team. See, this goes back to, and we have some Alabama listeners. One in particular messages me all the time that it wasn't the 4 losses for Kalen DeBoer in year one. It's how they lost. It was the lack of discipline, the pre-snap penalties, the lack of organization, those type of things. You just didn't, even when Nick Saban lost games, that stuff did not happen. He had no tolerance for it. So those are the type of things and effort plays that aren't there. That'll get you fired real quick. And I'm not talking about hot seat and, there's already buyout talks and $70 million and all this and that. That's not it. There's a bigger issue here. The bigger issue here is, where is Alabama as a culture right now? You are not guaranteed anything. I always talk about volcano programs that eventually there's certain programs that will always erupt again. I think Florida State is one. Maybe this is their eruption year. I think Southern Cal will eventually erupt again. I thought Ohio State would erupt. Michigan would erupt. That being said, those programs, even the volcano programs, none of them are invincible. They all have had periods of time where they have, for lack of a better term, sucked. Ask Texas fans what it was like under Charlie Strong and Tom Herman. Look at what Southern Cal's going through now. Look at what Michigan went through before Jim Harbaugh. Look at what Florida State has gone through multiple. Look what all the Florida schools have gone through multiple times here in the last 10, 15 years. It can happen in Tuscaloosa. You and I are old enough to remember. Yes,
it did before.
It did before. We're old enough to remember Alabama just not being that good. It can happen. And this was the warning for years of like people that were tired of Alabama thoroughly dominating the sport. Like, just wait till Saban goes, wait till Saban. We're still going to dominate recruiting. They're doing great in recruiting, JC, but I don't know if that means they're going to start winning championships again.
That's it. That's a big chunk of the battle, Mike, but it's not add water, grow program. I mean,
right.
You got to grow your garden. You can't just roll out there with some good topsoil and hope for rain. You got to have some fertilizer and you got to tend to it. You know, there's so much that goes into winning and losing football games in college. Because again, as much as everybody wants to professionalize it, you're dealing with college-aged people. And this year, you know, a lot of your 25, 26-year-olds that were around because of the COVID year, a lot of them are gone now. So rosters are skewing more young back to normal. It's kind of a reset back to normal. Young players make mistakes. Young players get on social media and believe their press clippings, and you got to combat against it. It's like rat poison, like Saban said. And
rat poison.
You know, Alabama should be okay this year, but I mean, look, it's not. They don't play the type of schedule where you can just say, it's okay. I mean, they've got a game at Georgia. They got to go to South Carolina. They got to go to Missouri. They play. I think they should beat Wisconsin at home, but that's a Power 4 team coming in. So, and they also have to go to the House of Horrors, known as Jordan-Hare Stadium, at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, you got an up close look at those guys, and I think
better.
they're better.
Yeah,
I mean, they did it They did it how SEC teams, in theory, should beat Big 12 teams. Line up and run the dang ball.
Run it ball and win the battle in the trenches, which they certainly did. I mean, Baylor had a quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, who's really good. He was recruited by Mike Leach, Mississippi State. He threw for 400, but when it came right down to it, whenever you needed a play on the line, Auburn got it, Baylor didn't. That was the difference in that one. Final game before we take a break, get to the JC5 and the boss. Notre Dame, Miami. What's your takeaway from Notre Dame? First of all, I thought it was maybe the most entertaining game of week one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really on point. There were big plays. You want a game that has great defenses, yes, but you got to have some offense if you're really going to entertain the masses. It had a little bit of everything in that game. And I think Carson Beck might have answered some critics. I thought Carson Beck played well. I really did.
Yeah. I haven't been a big Carson Beck fan, or I don't know if I'm a fan, but I've been skeptical. I'll admit it. And I think that, you know, the difference in that game probably was the quarterback play. CJ Carr is going to be really good. He's Lloyd Carr's grandson. I mean, football guy. He's just young. I was talking to my wife about this, actually, big Notre Dame fan, and she said, "Thank you for telling me that. It makes me feel better." But you had a luxury where you had the kid from Wake Forest, Hartman. Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
And then so you go to Tobacco Road Light 2 years in a row and just swipe good players.
Yeah,
Riley Leonard last year from Duke. And that's a luxury for Marcus Freeman and his team. And every program goes through this where you're going with a young quarterback, no matter how many stars they have by their name or whatever. It was a close battle in the preseason. And I think a legit close, not a manufactured close. And you know, he was good for a redshirt freshman, but not great. Notre Dame played well in other facets of it. Big win for Mario Cristobal in Miami. But it went about like I thought. You know, I was kind of later in the week, and there's a clip of me saying this. I thought, you know, I'm going to have to go with Miami on this one just because in that environment, that kind of stage, young quarterback, you know, Miami. Say what you want about Carson Beck, good, bad, or indifferent. He's experienced. And, you know, that goes a long way in this sport. And they pulled it out. It's a very good game, though. I think Notre Dame is going to be fine this year. Obviously, with them, you're like counting losses, and their schedule sets up, Mike. It's the first 7. There's some landmines. The last 4 or 5, glide path.
Give me the landmines.
Yeah. So what you're doing is you're trying to get to 7-0, or I'm sorry, 6-1 or 5-2 now, because that back half, chances of them getting upset, because you got to be. I think Notre Dame probably has to be 10-2. Yeah, to get into the playoff. I think every other conference is probably pulling against them because they take up a spot, But it's they're going to be fine. Jeremiah Love didn't have a ton of like some of the yards I thought he would in that one, but they've got a good football team. And Miami, they've done this from time to time where they jump up and beat somebody. They had a great opener last year in the Swamp. The thing with them to do now, they've got to be consistent and go out and, take that win, flush it, and keep getting better every single week and playing up to their talent level. And who knows, this may be the year Miami, the U is finally back, dog.
The fighting U dogs are perhaps maybe the state of Florida, which has taken a hibernation of relevance for the most part. Maybe it's back.
Wait, before you say that, because that's in the JC5.
I figured it might be.
Because the Gators played a high school team
yes.
from Long Island, but there's some other things happening in Florida that are interesting too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to that, among other things, at JC5, as well as the boss, the top performers of week 1. Coming up on the other side of this timeout, again, we are powered by Advocare and advocare.com. JC and Morgan rolls on in a moment.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cars while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products in out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks!
Hey, folks, want to tell you about our friends at Titan Construction Group really quick. They're a Mid-Atlantic-based general contractor, specializes in retail, restaurant, and office construction. TCG strives to separate itself from other general contractors by adding value every step of the process. From project budgeting to estimation, value engineering to construction, they focus on those relationships and not the transaction. Titan builds partnerships one project at a time. Among their clients are Starbucks, Crumble Cookie, Blake Pizza, Home Goods, 15 plus years experience, based in Midlothian, Virginia, and contracted in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So get on their website, TitanCGinc.com. That's TitanCGinc.com. Get in touch with Brad if you're in need of a general contractor that focuses on going above and beyond for their clients. That's Titan Construction Group, a proud sponsor of the JC and Morgan podcast.
We're passionate about making sure that the Nest and Wild mattress is the best it can be. Made well and made right. Right here in Tupelo, Mississippi. So how can we do all that? Work. Hard work. And that means something. The Nest and Wild mattress is a movement. It's a pride in where you come from and where you're going. So get comfortable, because this movement is just beginning.
This is JC Morgan. on the Chief Sports Network.
College football. Forever.
And we're back at JC and Morgan here on a Tuesday morning, will be our regularly scheduled time throughout the season. If you're thinking about who did what in power conference games, that is the Power Four, certainly the SEC Hate Nation rejoicing in the fact that Alabama got smoked by an ACC team and Texas got defeated by a Big Ten team. But overall, the SEC still does lead the way in head-to-head against Power Four. The conference went 4-2. The Big Ten went 2-1. The ACC went 2-4, and the Big 12 went 2-3. So take that for what it's worth. You know what was missing too, JC, from Week 1? The major upset. It didn't really, like, there was no Sacramento State taking down a Power 4 team. I'm afraid we're going to start losing more and more of that because the gap is so widened at the NIL and the portal with the talent disparity between those type of programs, like a Conference USA or a Sun Belt versus these other power leagues.
Yeah, I mean, Southern Miss played pretty well. I mean, there were some close calls. I mean, they played pretty well, and the Mississippi State poured it on them pretty good in Hattiesburg. And a game that I don't know why you schedule it, but if you schedule it and you go down there and win like that, let's get the cowbells rolling. I know you're going to be in Starkville this weekend.
Yeah, Arizona State.
Very interesting matchup because that's a good momentum win for Mississippi State, and it's in Starkville, so that's going to be interesting. Toledo and Kentucky was closer than I think Mark Stoops would have liked for it to been.
Typical Kentucky win.
Yeah, and a game I kind of thought, Old Dominion hung in there with Indiana pretty good, 27-14. That did not look like a top 20 team in what have you in Bloomington. But it's an opener, so it happens. A lot of new players in the portal. But, yeah, there wasn't that upset, man. There wasn't. And you're right, Mike. It could be that. Oh, by the way, Michigan State had their normal. Maybe things are right in East Lansing now because they had their normal Friday night game against a directional Michigan school where the score just looks ugly, 23-6. They beat the Broncos of Western Michigan. That's a trend there. But yeah, I mean, maybe you're right, dude. I mean, Rutgers in Ohio was closer than it should have been, but. It was only 3 points. So that was a near upset. But yeah. I mean, and these teams, the group of five, they're kind of pulling from FCS and JUCO and guys that will go back down a level. And, with all the roster transition, it's hard to have that senior laden squad that's just bites a team that's not ready to go. That's maybe, in transition or whatever at that level. So we may see less and less of that.
Less and less of that. We will see more and more of the JC5 as if the morale isn't good enough. As college football is in full effect, it only gets enhanced by the JC5.
It's time for the top topics in the sport. We bring the JC5. Number 1.
All right. On chat row, UGA MBA grad 2011. Good win for the Dogs this weekend. That was not a closer than expected game. Says UCLA's fixing to lose to UNLV this week.
Would not surprise me at all.
Nico.
And they don't have a coach. I mean, come on.
I mean, look, man, this was, oh my gosh. I mean, there were articles out saying, I mean, and I don't, never buy the hype on this guy. I mean, not only because I don't think he's all that much of a difference maker. To start with, he hasn't proved that outside of hype and tremendous physical gifts. What's around him in Los Angeles? I mean, they allegedly complained about the personnel at Tennessee, and they end up in a program that, serious personnel questions. Utah beat their ass 43-10.
Yeah.
And Nico had a lot of rushing attempts and was 11 for 22. Your thoughts about
this is number 1? Wait, it's not official until the announcer says.
Oh my God! Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So number 1. Let's go with number 1. Sorry, it has to be official.
Mr. Announcer, please. Number 1.
Number 1.
All right. Phil might be taking a bathroom break. All right.
Probably so.
Number,
Number one. My
by the
bad.
way, two words for Nico: Felipe Franks. Okay.
Yeah, and then your thoughts about Utah physically dominating that game.
Yeah, look, Utah I can pick 5 teams that I really like in the Big 12 that could win that league, and Utah's one of them. Texas Tech is another. They will meet in a week in Salt Lake City. That is a juicy Big 12 game. But Utah had that was their blip on the radar last year. That was their fly in the ointment season. What could go wrong did go wrong. They're back to playing Whittingham ball. Dominant. You want to talk about dominating the line of scrimmage? That's what they do. That's what he does. They did it against UCLA. They'll do it in their fair share of games. So yeah, I'm high on Utah this season. I don't think that's a program on the decline. I just think every now and then the turnover gets to you, and you just have a season that gets out of whack. What were they, 5-7 last year? Something in that ballpark.
Not 7-6. They went to, but they squeaked into a bowl. I don't know if they won 6-6, 6-7, something like that.
Okay, my bad. Yeah. So I mean, it's still well below the standard. Like we're just used to Utah 9-10 wins, and whether they were in the Pac winning conference crowns, the Big 12 winning conference crown. Here's a little stat for you. The Big 12's had 5 different conference champions the last 5 years. That, my friends, is diversity. So anyway, yeah, I if the question is how do I like Utah, the answer is I like them a lot.
Number 2.
After the summer of Brian, I'm still worried about his sunburn, man. He looks awfully red to me. It's Brian Kelly, talk smack, panic from their media about the offensive line 1 week into practice. Lots of stuff going on in Baton Rouge. You could almost feel the pressure mounting. He goes into Clemson and wins 17-10 and probably should have had another touchdown, but that's one of the forthcoming topics here on the JC5. Thoughts on LSU? I thought the defensive improvement was notable. We were in a week in college football where the unders were hitting, like I said, so everybody's defense looked relatively okay. But, you can just see their line their front so much better. Perkins is in the right spot now. They're fast. They're physical. They play with swagger. Blake Baker, who I mentioned earlier, they got him from Missouri, LSU grad. I think always been a fantastic coordinator. Your thoughts on LSU? Because if there's one team people are wanting to skyrocket up to that top spot in the polls, or now claiming in the weekly national championship predictions, LSU's gotten there by virtue of the win at Clemson.
See, I knew you would have this in the JC5, so I distinctly omitted it from our opening comments.
You're awesome.
Yeah, that comes with working together for 10 years on this. I'm all in on LSU. You know how I feel about Nussmeier. I don't think there's a better thrower of the football in college football than Garrett Nussmeier. Wasn't last year, wasn't this year. He rarely takes sacks. He's just okay, can we get to this? Because I've got him in the boss and I've got his numbers. And then I have his numbers with the touchdown pass that he threw that should have been a touchdown pass, much like Lenore Sellers' touchdown pass that he threw should have been a touchdown pass. We have got to change that rule. Please, Lord have mercy. If I see another wide receiver catch the ball with possession, with feet in the end zone, and then we take it away because the ball moves 1.5 millimeters on slow motion replay that could watch a hummingbird fly in super slow-mo video like it's a damn science video. It irks everybody. Like there's very few things that everybody will agree on in college football. This is one. Stop it. You don't have to be the NFL. The thinking, the rule is, because I see a lot of, as usual, there's a lot of misinformation on Twitter on this. The officials, technically, the replay officials, are not missing these calls. They are calling it based on a rule that says you have to survive the ground. So if you do fall, like if you're standing up, there's never an issue. But most guys on plays like this, they don't stand up. Eventually, they go to the ground with contact, losing your footing, what have you. And so even though you've already had it, feet in bounds, ball secure, just like when a running back crosses the plane, that should be the end of the story. But we have a rule that says after that, then we still have to look in super slow motion video when the receiver falls to the ground, the ball theoretically cannot move an inch because then that's deemed not possession. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous rule. Stop it. Just get rid of it. Nobody considers poll the coaches, poll 100 coaches if plays like that shouldn't be deemed a reception. If it's not 99 out of 100 or better, I'll be shocked. It goes against everything. There was a time we didn't have slow motion instant replay, so we would never have overturned these plays, but we're doing it now, and it's ridiculous. That's my diatribe for the day. Now, Garrett Nussmeier and LSU. Nussmeier was incredible in that game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Clemson's just severely overrated and they suck and they're trash, and that's not my take. My take is LSU is that much better. My take is that LSU was due to win one of these games. Now, they made mistakes. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now that you're talking about a coach and Brian Kelly. If they lose that game, why are you going for it on this play? Why are you not going for the field goal on that play? Like, there was a lot of things in-game decision-making. Sometimes Brian Kelly leaves me scratching my head, and I don't like to scratch my head. I've got too many other parts of my anatomy that I feel the need to scratch on a given day. I don't want to add my head to the list. So please, Brian, stop doing things that are counterintuitive. But no, LSU, you watch them swarm. You watch Perkins now in the right role. You watch they killed it in the portal. They're offensively, yeah, they lost some big names on that offensive line, but I didn't really see a major step back from what they were a year ago. And then they've got weapons on the outside on the perimeter for Nussmeier to throw it to. And oh, by the way, a 6'7" tight end who's a matchup nightmare. I mean, you just have him run jump balls in the red zone. So, yeah, there's a number of people that have said they're going to put LSU on number one on their new poll based on the quality of win. I would have no problem with that. Are they my favorite to win the SEC? Not necessarily, but I think LSU is it's going to be one of those years where LSU is going to be a problem again. And I do think it's a playoff team that you saw in Death Valley in South Carolina.
When you look at Clemson too, like the big question mark they had coming into this year was running back. They lost Phil Maffa. They have a freshman, Gideon Davidson, that did not get a carry on Saturday night. Their leading carrier was Adam Randall, who was a converted receiver, 5 carries, 16 yards. They only ran the ball for 31 yards in that football game, which a lot has to do with the LSU defense. But Clemson's offensive line is supposed to be the best they've had. You would think they would get a little more of a push. That's something to watch with Clemson moving forward. If that offense becomes kind of one-dimensional and they can't run the football, they're probably not going to be the team that people thought. But, no shame in losing that first one. I know it irks people that it's 4 in a row against the SEC, but you lost to 4 pretty good football teams. I mean, that's welcome every Clemson fan out there that wants to join the SEC. Here you go. This is what you face.
You take the good with the bad. You want to be a premier program, especially in the ACC. You got to play games like this.
Yeah, and they do, and they've won their share. I mean, it's like Dabo mentioned after the game. I mean, how many have we won? A lot, but it's got to be a little irking. And they had their chances. Clemson had their chances certainly to win. But hats off to LSU for breaking the opener streak, and now we don't ever have to talk about it again.
There you go.
Number 3.
Okay, so the state of Florida I mentioned earlier, Mike. Now, Miami and Florida State, big wins, obviously. Florida, like I said, played Long Island, and the Gators took care of business. UCF struggled with Jacksonville State, still won in Scott Frost's second debut in Orlando. But I tell you what, that team in Tampa, man, Thursday night, Boise State went in there, and I do think the humidity was a factor, and I do think that but at the same time, I thought the USF defense, because they're able to score points. It's Alex Golish. That's that spread Tennessee runs or whatever. I thought their defense looked fast, lengthy, athletic. I thought that's how Florida teams in my lifetime watching college football. All these teams in Florida generally look like that. I don't know how many games USF's going to win the American this year. I think they look awfully good. And that's a team that could, if they if they play like that all the time, they could be in the playoff, obviously, as the best G5. But nice win for that program overall against everybody's darling Boise State. I mean, and a lot of people thought Boise could go in there and win, but they didn't even keep it close. 34-7. You add that to the Miami win, add that to the Florida State win. Everybody down in the Sunshine State's got to be happy today.
You don't have to be that old to remember a time where all three of those programs would be good at the same time. Like you would get your hot off the presses top 25, and Florida State, Miami would all be in the top 25. And in some years, they'd even all be in the top 15. And then something has happened. One of the things that has happened, and you know as well as anybody, is that so many of those top-notch South Florida recruits are going elsewhere. They've been going to Alabama. They've been going to Ohio State. They've been going to some of the Texas schools. I mean, they've just been finding other places to go. Why is that? Well, it's not as if they're just miserable in the state of Florida. They just want to go where teams are winning, and the culture is good. And that hasn't been the case at Florida State, Florida, and it's all about the U-Dog. It just they've all had their fair share of struggles. But maybe that tide is turning a little bit. Cristobal, look, he's had some bad moments. The time management, not taking a knee against Georgia Tech stands out. Billy Napier got off to a very rocky start, and he might be a lower buyout from being fired a year ago. And then Florida State, it's not like Norvell just forgot how to coach. He had one god-awful year. I still think he's the right guy for that job. They've all found ways to inject more money into the programs because, believe it or not, that was an issue at all three. Miami found their sugar daddy. Florida State has found some revenue, and Florida has found some revenue. So, I think it could be a bounce-back year for all three of those programs. Well, how can it be a bounce-back year for Miami? Because Miami choked. And if you look at, they lost 3 out of the last 4, including the game to Syracuse that would have gotten them into the playoff. I think they could be better this year. They got a big one coming up against Florida coming up. But to your point on USF, you've heard me talk a number of times on Alex Golesh. I am a big Alex Golesh guy. I love the Moscow Mule. The guy was born in Russia. The guy was a great offensive coordinator at Tennessee. He got that offense humming under Josh Heupel. Even though Heupel got all the credit, it's Golesh's offense, and I think he's doing good work over there in Tampa. That is a scary game if you're Florida and you just sleepwalk through it. They can beat you. To your point, they can absolutely beat you.
Number 4.
Okay, speaking of Tennessee, Joey Aguilar, pretty solid debut of Braylon Staley, a wide receiver that followed his recruitment. He's from Aiken, South Carolina, fast guy. The guy they got from the portal, Chris Brazel from Tulane, 6'6" guy. They had good games. It did look like Tennessee's idea. Star Thomas and those guys get the run game going yet again. But even in that year they had Hooker, Mike, they were able to run the football. That's what made that offense so tough to defend. Syracuse just got swamped in that one. Tennessee looked really good in the opener with Aguilar. How does that translate? SEC schedule, all that. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to say they're going back to the playoff, but a lot of the concerns people had about the Vols heading into the season, it had to make you feel better about their receivers, about Aguilar, about the offense in general.
Yeah, I don't know when it became the in vogue thing to say Joey Aguilar is just garbage. Like people have been talking about him in the offseason, like, oh, well, I'm not saying Nico was perfect, but compared to Joey Aguilar, if you go back and you look at Joey Aguilar's career at App State and UCLA, it's not bad at all. So I look, I'm not sitting here and telling you that he's all SEC material, but they don't need that. They don't need that in Knoxville. My bigger concerns actually were in other play, like would they be able to run the ball as well as they did? And there's a lot of This is overreaction day, right?
They looked like a top 3 team the first 3 weeks of last season.
Correct.
Against 2 dwarfs and NC State. They beat the crap out of them.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to be as good and as physical running the ball as they were a year ago. They lost their back. They lost some offensive linemen. So I'm not completely jumping on the bandwagon, but they certainly answered some questions with Joey Aguilar. And can this kid throw the ball at all? And he can. So I think it's encouraging. If you're Tennessee, you're tired of hearing about Nico. I mean, there were people going on national shows and saying, I'm not in favor of holdouts, but to me, it's a big mistake to let that kid go and settle for Joey Aguilar. I don't know. Nico was not that good last year.
Joey Aguilar's probably going to end up being better. I may regret saying that, but.
Well, you may not. You may look pretty good saying that.
Maybe I won't. And like Tom Lugerbill told us about that kid. He's a kind of a gunslinger mentality.
Yeah.
I like the way he plays. I like the way he plays. Like his style a whole lot better than Nico.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't want to be too harsh on Nico because of the supporting cast and all that. But sometimes you got to be careful in this game these days of what you wish for. Right.
Very true.
Number 5.
Okay, looking forward, Mike, I don't know. I didn't catch much of I saw bits and pieces of because these two teams opened with New Mexico and Illinois State, respectively. Michigan plays Oklahoma this weekend down in Norman, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
it's Norman.
Weekend. Game days there this weekend. Oklahoma beat my wife's alma mater, the Illinois State Redbirds, 35-3. Michigan 34-17 over New Mexico. Freshman quarterback for Michigan, John Mateer. I think fans would probably in Oklahoma would have liked more points with the offense. Jaden Ott didn't do too much in the run game, but it's an opener. Now it gets real. Michigan, Oklahoma, just kind of spinning forward. Give us your thoughts. Your thoughts on what you see there, or what, not necessarily previewing it, but like what could that game tell us about both teams given a performance on either side?
I can't wait to see Mateer against the Michigan D. That's the matchup within the matchup, right? I mean, I didn't put Mateer on the boss, which we'll get to momentarily, just because I hate doing it against FCS opponents. No offense to your wife's alma mater. But I do think if you watched any of the highlights, like there's some Baker Mayfield there. Like he is going to be a difference maker in the SEC this year. If there is a defense that can humble him, could very well be Michigan's. So I think that's what makes this a fascinating matchup. Again, these are the kind of games we love. The inter-conference squabbles that we rarely see in college football. Give me more of these. They don't all have to be like top 10 blockbusters. Give me more games like this. Give me more games like Arizona State, Mississippi State. Give me more games like Utah, UCLA. I love these kind of games. And I think this one's going to be very intriguing. I will just say this in line with, I think Oklahoma's got a chance to be vastly improved. I like them at home. It's not a knock on Michigan, but I think Oklahoma has a chance to score one of the bigger wins of the Venables era.
True freshman quarterback going in there. Now, Michigan, they stopped the presses. They had a passing game against the Lobos.
Yes.
21 for 31, 251 yards and a touchdown. Very workmanlike effort for Bryce Underwood, 8.1 yards per throw. Justice Haynes, transfer running back from Alabama, 159 yards on 16 carries. If he can keep playing at that level, he never got anything close to that in Alabama. So if he can keep playing at that level, take it up a notch for Michigan. They got their guy. It's going to be a big challenge stopping Mateer in that offense on the road with a true freshman quarterback. But I'm looking forward to it too, Mike. I think that is a good opportunity for both teams.
Going to be a lot of fun, no doubt about that. Again, we are JC and Morgan, powered by Advocare, advocare.com. Save 20%, promo code Mike Morgan today. Have everything shipped right to your door. Time to break out the Godfather of Soul. Go ahead, put on the jacket, give him the mic. I think a little bit of the boss. It's not JC is not the boss. He's not doing a wardrobe change, even though his camera just went out. All right, we've referenced a couple of these already. Usually it's reserved for players, but I am going to give it to one of these coaches. Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator of Ohio State, completely shut down the Texas passing game and Arch Manning. Arch Manning is not – he didn't ask for all the hype. He's not a self-promoter. He's not out there making grandiose statements. Heck, he's not even Castellanos in terms of trash talk. But his last name is Manning, and everybody knows about him. And so he got humbled. There's no way about it. There's no two ways about it. He got humbled. But Matt Patricia knows a thing or two about defense. Oh, by the way, the Texas defense held Ohio State to 203 yards. That includes Jeremiah Smith, who did drop a couple passes. So you kind of had multiple bosses in that game. But congratulations to the Buckeyes and the Big Ten scoring a win over the SEC and over Texas. Tommy Castellanos, yeah, if you just looked at the stat line, you'd be like, what's the big deal? He ran 16 times, 78 yards, a rushing touchdown. He didn't throw for a bunch of yards. He controlled the game, and he made Alabama look slow. He's not a big guy at all, but a lot of those runs are actually between the tackles. He's not one of these guys who's always looking to get to the edge. I thought Castellanos played very well. He was boss-like and certainly gave Florida State fans something to be excited about. This is not DJU. This is Gus Malzahn and Castellanos, and they're going to be causing some problems for defenses in the ACC. Garrett Nussmeier, I mentioned him earlier, 28 of 38, 230 and a touchdown. Should have been 260 and 2 TDs once we get rid of the stupid rule in football that says you have to control the football to the ground and it can't move a millimeter on a slow motion picture frame. Joey Aguilar, we talked about, 16 to 28, 247, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Malachi Toney, remember this name. Malachi Toney, number 10, wide receiver from Miami. Little guy, 6 grabs, 82 yards, touchdown. He's got that it factor, just saying. Sawyer Robertson in a losing case. You can still be the boss in a losing effort. What did he do in the loss to Auburn? Dominated the line of scrimmage. The kid still threw for 419 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Zachariah Branch, wide receiver, Georgia. Remember last year, Georgia led the nation in drop passes. Zachariah Branch, when he catches it, it's a lot of yak. A lot of yak. 3 grabs, 95 yards, a touchdown. Explosive. Talon Green of Arkansas. Again, this is one of those, I'm breaking the rule a little bit. They played one of those smaller directional FCS schools, but 24 of 31, 322, 6 touchdowns, no picks, and ran for 41. I've got to give you some boss cred with a performance like that. And that concludes the first installment of the season of The Boss.
Yes, that was a disaster on my end. I'm sorry for
That's
those.
all right.
I mean, my mic comes unplugged. I'm kind of still working on this new, my recording computer.
Yeah.
I had to buy a new one. You're familiar with the old one. It's lasted all 10 years we've done this podcast. It finally died.
Finally died.
And so the speaker settings and stuff are weird. Sometimes my mic cord's too long and my clumsy foot unplugs it, and I have to restart it on the thing. And then for some reason, the Boss music was playing through the speakers on the computer.
Oh, nice.
Yet I was able to hear you on the head. Weird. Anyway,
you know what it looked like?
That, but yeah, what?
Because your screen went off, it enhanced the size. This sounds like a PED commercial. It enhanced the size of my screen, and then it went inside the fresh logo, the big circle. So my square was in the circle. It looked like I was having a guest appearance on the Love Boat. Remember how they used to do that?
Love Boat, yes.
Yeah.
Mike Morgan.
Special appearance, Mike Morgan.
They got the look. It kind of tilts his head and smiles.
Yeah. Hey, Isaac the bartender. How about a couple Mai Tais over here, big guy?
That's awesome.
That's what it looked like.
That's
I thought I was on the Love Boat.
That's your exact line, too. Mike.
Yeah.
First line.
Hey,
scene
Isaac.
1, shot. 2 shot from the bar. Mike goes, "Hey, big guy."
Hey, big guy. Couple Mai Tais. Buy the house around. It's on me. Put it on my tab. Good stuff. Good stuff. That concludes another episode of JC and Morgan. JC, tell the fine folks, if they haven't already picked up the knowledge of everything going on with this fine show, if they're still new to the program as we pick up new listeners each and every week, what do they need to know? What is pivotal?
Yeah, go to the Chief Sports app, and that's where you can find all of our episodes. Also, collegefootballforever.com on the world wide webs, and also on YouTube, youtube.com/collegefootballforeverchief. You can find us there. And then the podcast is everywhere. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. It's on Google. It's on iHeart. It's on Audible. Man, I could have listened to like my new audio book last night and then gone right into an episode of JC and Morgan. You can find it just about anywhere you find podcasts. Please go rate us 5 stars, write a little review, make it a nice one, because it discourages me and hurts my feelings. It makes me
want to do
like
that.
Michael Corleone. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Because it makes me angry.
Yeah, you don't want JC angry or sad.
Yeah, or sad or anything.
Let's keep him happy.
Anyway, yeah, you can find that just about anywhere. And I'm digging this Tuesday time slot because it's still good to talk about the previous week's games. We could dabble in it. I like this Tuesday deal. It's a little different coming off a holiday because it feels more like a Monday. But
it does.
I'm liking the Tuesday deal, Mike. I think that's and that's usually during the season at least, barring something crazy.
Right.
Michael does travel. Then Tuesday will be our spot right here early in the morning, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central.
You survived Atlanta. I survived Waco. Slightly different cultures, but nevertheless, we both are fresh as a daisy after road trips and looking forward to another strong week of chatter in another installment of JCM next Tuesday. For the producer extraordinaire, the Mad Dog, Phil Molinax, Mike and JC saying so long. See you next time on JC and Morgan.